everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we'll be discussing about RAG. We'll be discussing about the embedding model and how it works with the vector DB. And third, we'll be discussing about the complete setup of Oracle 23C. So which has the facility for the AI and the vector DB, and you can configure everything in locally. And then we'll be discussing about the Spring AI, and we'll be again doing chat with the DeepSeek and the entire integration. Now at this time it will handle the unstructured data, and then we'll be going over the installation, local setup and everything. So please stay with me, and then we can go over each and every steps. So let's go over the two APIs which we'll write. So first API is basically we'll upload a PDF file, and that eventually go to the database, and we'll be storing the data into the Oracle database. And you can see here there are three processes involved here. So one is, it will go through the vector processor, and the vector processor, it will give the data to the AI, embedding AI. So in this case, we'll be using the embedding model. I'll explain what is embedding model and what is RAG in a while, but we'll be giving to the embedding model, and that eventually convert the data into the a format which you can see here down below in the table. So this is, there is one column you can see here, embedding. It has the coordinates. So we'll go over this each and everything so that you'll understand. And it has the content and ID. So ID is nothing but it's kind of primary key, you can say, in terms of that database language, and content is nothing but we'll be splitting this PDF file into different splitters, and each time, each splitting object, it will go inside the actual data. You'll understand about this when you'll see the data in the database. This is one API. And the second API, if I go here down below, so we have the chat kind of structure we'll have, like we have shown in the first video, right? So we'll basically in this prompt, it there'll be a API, Spring Boot API, and we'll put generative LLM model. In this case, we'll be using DeepSeek, and then we'll go over the how the Oracle, with the Oracle, how it works, and then and in what scenarios it goes to the normal training data. So let's try to understand what is the RAG. So RAG, you can see about the our LLM models. It's done the training on the old data. So now there is a concept called RAG. So why this concept came actually, so to train the model with the original data, it takes lot of GPU and memories, right? And it takes lot of effort. Now the solution, what the AI they are providing, they can put one more database in front of it. It can be Oracle database, it can be any database. There is a Redis is there in market, Postgres is there. So there are many databases. As per your convenience, you can do it. So we can put one RAG kind of thing. So what eventually it will do, let's say for example, if I ask a question to the chat AI model, so first it will go and check, there is if condition will be there inside. So it will go and check whether, hey, if this data is available already in our Oracle database, so it will get the data from here. And then if it is not available, it will go to the old training data. So if you, I'll show one example where the things will be more clear. So I already opened, it's like Postman is not open. Let me do one thing. Let me open my Postman. So I have already written the API. So uh, before we go further, right, let me give a demo so that it will be more clear. And let me see if the Oracle database is up and running. Yeah. So I'll go over each and everything, how the database I have set up and everything. Don't worry about that. But I just, to understand the RAG, right? Let's understand how it works. So let me, ask one question from a PDF. So what I'll do, I'll upload one PDF. This PDF is nothing but my wife's resume. I'll be uploading this. So I'll ask this question, what are the professional skills of my wife, right? So ideally, since the data is not available, as you can see here, right? So this is our vector database, basically the Oracle database, and this is in vector format. I'll explain what is embedding and everything. So the data is not there. That means, ideally the if else condition what we just now spoke, it should not go into the vector database, and then, um, the data what it will bring is from the training data. So let me hit this, right? So this is the question, professional skills. So if I hit this, ideally it should take some time and then give the response. Let me pause the video. Okay, I just got the response from the API, so I can see here the response, and looks like it did a lot of work. And if I go down below, so this is what it came, professional experience, Rupti Sarkar. It it did something, some data, some word data it got. So it's not matching with the PDF data, which basically I wanted to show. So it should be HR management and IT recruit and all these things, right? Now let's do one thing. So I'll show you, the rack thing. So how it's so beautiful, So let's say if I, store the data first. So I have written one more API, which essentially, will be storing the data into the Oracle database. So if I go to the body, so I'll be uploading. You can see here, there is a file. I'll go over the APIs, don't worry. So I'll just upload this API, and once it will store, it will go to the database and show you. So let me go to the database. Yeah, so this is the database, and let's, yeah, it gets stored. It's so quick. So you can see here the data is stored now. Now I'll do one thing, um, I'll again hit the API with the same question, and you'll see the magic. Yeah. So let me pause again. Yeah, I got the response, as you can see here, right? It did some, good work, and then if I count down below, so it's now reading from the PDF. So the version which I'm using is R1, DeepSeek R1. So it's now getting back the data, with, the precision is not much because I am using very low version of, the DeepSeek, but we'll go over it. We have two versions. We'll go over it. We can flip it. So this is what, but eventually it got the result back. The accuracy is good. It's reading the HR management. If I go to the PDF once again, so you can see here, it's HM and IT recruiter, all these things, it got it. Yeah. So I hope you got what we are trying to, build here. And the third thing we have to understand, the data now. So if I go to the Oracle database, you can see here, these values you can see here. These are nothing but the embedding, right? So what this embedding is all about, it's basically, it's a coordinate. So how much distance it is from the values I am expecting. So I'll give one example. mm, you know so this is, let's take one example. Let's say I want to fire a query, right? Where I want to know the four, values which are, the shortest distance from the value of puppy. You can see here in the diagram, right? So this query, if I fire, so what eventually it will do, so it has the coordinates inside. So there is a, the algorithm is there, and it will eventually find four values. As you can see, nearest to puppy is dog, wolf, and then cat, and there is a California also. It got it. But as you can see here, right? So this is the algorithm how it forms, and this algorithm is nothing but it called as k nearest neighbor search. This is the algorithm it will perform. The model I am using it, that's the piece it will do. And there might be obvious question, right? Why it went to the California even though it's not part of the animal, right? So the reason is, it depends on the indexes. These three are different clusters. Now if I have a index on the each clusters, right, it will go to the only animals. So that's how we'll do it. So that's all about the theory. So let's go to, how we can set up everything locally. So you don't need any internet, anything. You just need to download few softwares and you're good to go. Yeah. So one thing I forgot to mention here, these are the nothing but the coordinates. You can see here X, Y axis, and the internal structure. I am not much sure about it because I am not expert from that level. But this is the, the coordinates which will be storing in the database. And there is one model I have used it, which is doing this embedding thing, so that, it will be understood by the DeepSeek. So there are two models I'll be using it. So DeepSeek and embedding. So DeepSeek, the model which I'm using, it cannot do the embedding. That's the reason I'm using one more embedding model. So what I mean actually, if I go here in the diagram, right? So the data it will be stored here in the Oracle database. I am using one, a different model, right? And then retrieving the data from the database, I am using DeepSeek, which is one more LLM. Now, the storing part of it, right? And the retrieval, there are two different models, right? But the beauty is that, this model, how it will store the format, the other model, it can easily understand. So that is the beauty of the vector database. Yeah. Now let's go to how we can install everything locally. So you can come over here down below the Oracle website, and if I come down, you can see here the free version, right? So we'll be installing everything in local. We'll not be using any Docker. So you can download this in your local, and then once your download is complete, you can do next, 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 and then it'll ask for the username and password. So you have to, there are three users are there for Oracle: sys, system, and there is one more. I forgot the name, but you can give the password according to your convenience. And so once it is done, you go ahead and download the client as well, because the interacting with the SQL Plus is very boring, I feel. So once you download this, right, so you'll get this kind of interface where you can query a database. So to get this interface, you can download this. I mean, it's your wish. It's optional. If you're happy with the SQL Plus querying, you can go ahead and do it. But I have downloaded this. It's super awesome. So let's do one thing. So once you download, right, so how will know the download is successful? So what you can do, you can go to your mine is Windows. You can go to C drive, and you can go to inside app, and then you can go inside 23 AI. And once you go here, the free version of it, you can search for network, and you can do one thing. You will be admin, and then you can see here the Aura, Oracle Aura. This is very important, right? So because okay, nothing is open. This is very important because it has the service name, and I'll explain how it will be used. No, not bad. Yeah, so this notepad, I can see here, these are the service name. We'll be using the same service name in our service, and this is the port and everything. So you can see here. So everything will be in local. So let's go ahead and connect to this database. I can go to SQL Plus, and in SQL Plus, once you log in, you can log with system, and then you can give your password. So login is successful. So that means everything is done, right? So once it is done, what you can do, you have to configure here in your client, so that you can access the database and you can create the things from here. So you can see here the right symbol. So you can click over here, and you have to give the name here, username and password. And here you can see from our, oops, it's gone. So you can see here, right? So this is our local host 151.21.1521. This is local host, and this is XE, which is wrong. You have to give it free, because there is a service name. You can see here seed is nothing but the service name. Service name also you can use like this, or seed also, anything is fine, I think. So and then you can do the test connection, right? So once it is done, you can test it, and then you can run the SQLs from here. Now let's go to the database configurations. So let's go here. So we have to search login by system, and there are few users I'll be creating. So I'll be creating vector users, and I'll be creating this table because this is where we'll be storing it. And there are some grants you have to run it, just to make sure that this user has the proper access to run everything. So you go ahead and create this by running these SQLs in our SQL Plus. So you can go to SQL Plus and then run these guys one by one. So first you have to water the session, and you have to create this. So I'll be getting error if I do this because I already have this user. So yeah, so this is already present. So that's the reason it's giving all these errors. So you have to give the permissions and everything. You go ahead and create this, and once it is done, then you can start for the next step. Yeah, so you can see here the content type is glob here. So this content type is nothing but the actual data, and this is the embedding, so which is nothing but the vector storage. So this is the coordinates, and this is the main thing. And different AI models can understand, even though they are different, it can easily understand. And this is the metadata, which is nothing but the data of the data. Now let's go to the models which we'll be using uh, in our local. So we'll go to, so I'll be using the Olama because that is the very nice platform. and we can integrate many models locally. Okay, so just let me explain a little bit about the model. So I'll be using this embedding model MX large. So and then I'll be using DigShake 1.5B. And I mean, you can use this model as well, 7B, which is more accurate and it will give the result more accurately. But it takes almost 5 minutes for me, at least in this PC, which is having 16 GB of RAM. And then basically, for experiments, I think you can use these two things. It's very nice and it's very fast. So MX Buy, you can install it by going to the Olama website. So we can go to olama.com. So this is, I have explained everything about this, how to do the setup and everything in my last video. Please go ahead and check that video if you have missed it. Now so what we can do, we can search here for MX Buy and mm, MXBAI. Yeah. So you can see here, we can take this command and then we can pull this in our local. And once it is, we can so just paste it here and just run this, right? And then what we can do, we can go to DeepSec also, and then deep, yeah. So we can go here and then we can go to the lower version so that it will be super fast in our system. We can take this and then we can run here, right? And then once it is up and running, and then we can ask questions to him. So sum up 7 plus, okay, 7 plus 2. So it's so fast. It just instantly it'll give the answers, right? So once these things are done, right? So what we can do, we can go ahead into our IntelliJ or Eclipse, whichever is comfortable you are. And then what we have to do, we have to set up this project. So for this, right, I'll be using Gradle. Then let's go over to the Spring AI so that we can download the dependencies. Oops, Spring Initializer. Yep. So what we have to do, we have to add some dependencies. So we'll be using Spring AI. So let's add that Spring AI. Sorry, we will be using Olama. That will take care of that. So we can go to Olama, right? I just added that Olama, and we have to use Oracle Vector. So Oracle, in fact, we need both. So Oracle database, and then we have Oracle database AI. Then we'll be working with the PDF. So I'll be adding this PDF document reader, and then I have to work with the JPS, right? So I have to add data Springboard data JPA JP oops, data JPA. So we are good for this. So we can I have chosen Gradle Java, and if you can see here, right, it's using, okay, this is using M7 version, and these are the dependencies. So Gradle I'll be using because I feel it's more easy to read. The Maven dependency is had a lot of things. That is, I don't like much. So the dependencies are done, all set. So next is your application OML file, which is very important. So first, what you have to do, one thing is you have to do, you have to be very careful is this free thing, right? This is our service name. If you can remember, right, we have our um, service name mentioned in our admin this TNS file. If you remember, there we have this free. Uh, so if you can see here, the service name is free. So I have seen in the documentation nowhere it's mentioned. So I spent a lot of time, almost like half an hour I've spent to debug this issue. So once this is done, everything is fine. This user I have created, I have shown to you, right? And then we can go to the driver and rest everything looks good. So this is our, the configuration. So once I put this, Spring will do the magic and it will create the bean for me. and this Oracle database, it will be automatically, we can inject, we can directly call the database and insert or delete the data. Now let's come to the AI. So we'll be using the vector Oracle, vector store. So these are the the configurations I have to put. So first is the index type. So index type is nothing but the inverted flat file index, right? So what it will do, essentially we have this neighbor search, if you remember, right? So for that we'll be creating the index. Now next is the cosine. Again, this is again related to the distance. You can go to the Oracle documentation to read about more about this, because this index type, there are different types are there, IVF, then HNSW. So these are the different. So for documents, IVF is good and cosine is good, but if you deal with the complex images and all, you can use the other things. And there is a dimension. Now this is very important, 1536. If you want to, once your table is created and the settings are done, I think you cannot change this value. If you want to change, you have to drop the table. Now if I come down, so I'll be using two different models. So, and everything is locally set up, as you know, right? So I, for embedding, I am using MX by embedding. So you can, for embedding, I'll be using this. And this is for the chat. So I'll be using the chat in interactive session, right? We'll be using the DeepSeek, and we'll hit from the postman and see how the responses are coming. So you can use the DeepSeek 7B, your wish. For my system, it was literally crying, so I am using 1.5B. And if I go to the controller, right? So there are two APIs are there, which I have created. This is for document store, sorry, this is for ask the question, and this is for the vector PDF store. This is one more API. So if time permits, or maybe I'll create one more video where I'll be showing how the text and how asynchronously we are processing the data. So I'll be creating the video for that separately. Now this PDF store, if I go inside, right, so what essentially we are doing, so first, I am initially I'm taking the data from this Spring AI vector database table. And if you remember, we created this table, and then I am taking the count of it. If the count is, if it is not zero, that means if there is some records are there in the table, I go ahead and destroy all the data from there, because I don't want the steal data over there. You can put your additional logic, you can write some store procs over here, so that you can do the incremental loading or however you want, right? So you can write that logic. Maybe if some other video, I can explain how we can do that. And next is, what we are doing, we have the PDF file now. So this is the file it came, multiverse file it came, right? So we have to basically load that file into the database, but before that we'll be splitting it, and then we have to do the tokenization, right? So this is the text splitter I have defined. And then we can give how many splits we want. So and then we can put into the database. So that is the whole purpose of doing this. Now this vector store, right, it will store the data in the database table. Now if I go here, right, so you can see here it's using the Oracle one. So you can see here the abstraction. Now let me go to the right hand side. Uh, yeah, you can see here this one, it's ordering the using the vector store implementation. So it depends, I mean, based on the dependency you will add, right, the Spring Boot, it will do the magic, and eventually it will auto configure the Oracle. Or let's say if you use Postgres, it will do the Postgres. Or for the the Redis, so automatically it will do the auto configuration. Now if you see the JDBC client also, the same thing you will see. So yeah, so now let's go to um, the ask the question. So here there is very important thing here. So I am just telling my LLM model not to read the data from the trained data directly. So before you go there, you just go ahead and ask questions here inside our vector store. And if you get the question, get it back to the prompt to the user. So that is what I'm doing. There are a lot of setups we can do here. We can restrict the number of lines, how it'll give it back to the user, because sometimes the response is too much, so we have to restrict it. And there are more, we can run the queries also here, we can fire some queries. So for that you have to go to the Spring AI, and you can see what all things we can configure it, and then accordingly you can make the decision. So let's go to Spring AI, and we can go to learn, and we are using currently M7 version. You can see our dependency. And if I go to docs, if I come down here, you can see the vector database. Now in the vector database, there are so many are there, right? So I have chosen Oracle. Now if I come down below, right? So these are the settings generally. Okay, this settings is not required, by the way, because I am using Olama, so no need to do that. So if you come down here, okay, these are the settings, and then these are the things you can do the for the doc processing. Yeah. Now if you just close it, now this is the RAG thing. If you come to the RAG, what you have to do actually, this is the advisor. Now there are many ways you can do it. So I have just used a very simple one. Whatever the data it comes, it'll just give it back to the user. Now these are the questions, right? And we can pass the queries and everything over here. So we can restrict the number of records. So there are very much things out there you can do it. So you can take a look, and then you can play around with this, right? Yeah, so this is all about the APIs and everything. Now I think I already given a demo how this is working, right? And this is how we are storing in the database. Yeah, so this is all about the video, and please do subscribe to my channel, because it takes a lot of effort to make such videos, and it will also motivate me. Please do subscribe, and thanks for watching. Thank you.